Welcome to Security USA Today. I'm Clark Benya, and today we're going to examine the state of security post 9/11 in our nation, state, and city. We're going to do that with two security professionals / law enforcement professionals. We have Albert Inman, Special Forces from the Israeli Defense Force, and also the president of Kapap Academy. He'll tell us a little bit about that. We're also going to have a retired lieutenant from the New York City Police Department, Mr. David Bohm, who's also the COO of Security USA, a specialized security company, and he will tell us a lot about that. Gentlemen, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Clark.
Okay, well, gentlemen, obviously this is our first program. David, we're going to spend a lot of time together.
Absolutely.
Let's examine what's been going on post 9/11. A lot of information is not being put out there. Hopefully this program will do that. And that's why it's very important to have David Bohm here with us always, and to have specifically Albert Inman to address the issues of counterterrorism and how to become better at it. So Albert, in starting, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, I'm a former Israeli IDF Special Forces. I've been there, spending my life in military, later on in law enforcement, police, and then also a little bit of my time was shared with Israeli diplomatic security. Today I own and operate Kapap Academy in the United States. It's a business that is actually focused on training law enforcement, military units, civilians for preparedness for different issues that are concerned with security. So more or less, this is our area of focus on when we actually deal with this type of situations. Kapap Academy actually encompasses an array of services that is actually dealing with different issues in security.
Excellent, and you didn't touch up on something. Doing my research, you committed an act of bravery. We're going to touch up on that a little bit later on in the program. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but
yeah,
that's the way things go. We can talk about it.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. David, great to see you, and looking forward to continue working with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, Clark. And I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Security USA. We are a company based here in Manhattan. We have about 250 security professionals that work throughout the state of New York. I was also a retired lieutenant from the NYPD with over 19 years of experience. And we are here to educate and to tell people answers to a lot of questions that they have, which seems from the three of us talking that a lot of people in the community have so many different questions on what they can do to secure themselves, their families, their businesses, but there really isn't any information coming out there, or enough information coming out there to meet the needs of the community.
It's really great, and what's really important is that Security USA has taken the initiative to put this together, and I know that this is going to serve our city and the citizens of our city. And let's just do that. Let's start by talking about different situations post 9/11. Do you folks think that we're safer today than before?
Well, it's a very complicated question. In terms of what we know today, actually, is much more than we known before 9/11 in terms of what's been done. Today, there's more of a investment in actually creating a platform to operate on in terms of sharing information. We have a lot of dealings with public information that is being relayed to the citizens today. A lot of things before 9/11 were not that obvious as they are today. So in certain terms, I think that there's a progress in relaying information back to the citizens that are concerned with their own safety and where are we going. What happened, what 9/11 did to us as a society. I think it was a very important event, historical event that it's a very traumatic on one side and very in international terms. because I think that society today is much more aware and much more focused on their own personal security, and they seek actually this type of information. They need this type of information, and I think that answering the entire question of if we are safer today than we were before 9/11, in the big, or in a more general way, I would say we know much more today as society, and we are more prepared today than we were before 9/11. There's a lot more efforts today to actually bring the state of security to be on a higher standard. Before 9/11 happened, there was a lot of misconceptions, a lot of things that people didn't know even about these type of events that occur over there overseas. They're not concerning us. So today I think that we're a little bit more informed, a little bit more understanding that terrorism can hit us in our our backyard here, in our own state, in our home state, and it has a lot of implications. What happens around the world and how it's been related to our own personal safety. And this is an attribute to all the, I call it all the agencies or all the apparatus that is involved with it. Either the media has a big role in playing in bringing more and more information to us. Of course, law enforcement today, the entities that are actually charged on our personal safety are doing a much better job and much more than they did before 9/11. Is that enough? That's a different question. But I think in a general way, today we know more about the problem than we knew before 9/11, and that's also a step forward. So,
And Albert,
yes.
you make a good, very good points. And I think the question, like Clark, you just presented, is there's two levels to that question. The first level is how government perceives, are we safer than we were before? And the second one is the way our communities perceive it. Are they safer? Are they safer going to the mall, going to houses of worship, going to the store for their daily lives? And that's where a lot of people are, asking me questions. And I'm sure to both of you, when we're on the street and we're talking to people, how much safety has increased? Yes, we can go to government buildings. They've hardened security there. You'll see police officers everywhere, armed security, vehicles, roadblocks. But it's out into the community where people don't access government buildings on a regular basis, or don't go to these locations that have the money, the resources to put strong security in place. It's the people going to the movies, going to the mall, and they want to know, how can we make ourselves safe there? Because as we're hearing, and I'm sure both of you will agree, terrorists aren't looking at those hardened areas anymore. They're looking at soft targets, and soft targets is a big issue that a lot of people, it's on their minds because they don't see the type of security that they see at a government building versus what they'll see at a movie theater or at a local mall. So that's something that I think we should be able to communicate with the community in regards to giving them some ideas of what to look for. And Albert, with your experience with the IDF and Special Forces and all that you did, maybe you can give some ideas for the ordinary citizens who are going about their daily lives every day, things they might need to look for. Basic things that they can hold on to and put in their mind to remember while they're going about their daily lives. Albert, maybe you can give us some idea, some direction, some education on what the general public can look for when they're going about their daily lives, in regards specifically to terrorism.
Okay, there's a lot actually that each and individual can do for himself, regardless the state of current state of security, if it's whether terrorism or criminal activity that can actually affect his life. But let's focus a little bit on the more of the terrorist aspect, because this is what we're here for initially. We have a lot on our shoulders, and we live in a fast-paced society, and most of our lives are we can go through without even one event in our lives, but all it takes is just 1 second, one moment that we're not paying attention, and the horrible thing can develop from that moment and on. And this is why it's important actually to develop some kind of I call it like a state of mind, of awareness state of mind. If we talk about where we're going from point A to point B, it's always good to remind yourself, what is your goal? If you already know the area, if you know, where you're going to, if it's not totally new to you, let's say you're going to the movies or you're going to the, let's say an event, and you know that this type of event is highly populated. You're gonna be with a lot of masses of people going in there. Movies and theaters are places that are known, or shopping malls are places that are known to be extremely populated. It's very hard to pick and choose each individual in that setting. But if your level of awareness actually been set up from the beginning, before you go there, to kind of pay attention to things, even the smallest things can, actually become a sign. And in Israel, we're very good at it. Here it's not about terminology of profiling, but we do have some kind of a behavioral profiling that we go through. Even with my kids, I used to play with them, games on how to perceive emotions of personalities. So a person goes in front of you, and you kind of take a 2-second look more than the usual on his face. Is he happy? Is he sad? What is he telling you? Every picture has a story to tell. And bottom line, if you kind of take the time to pay attention to the little details in that story, you can pick up more and more details that can relate to things that you can predict his next move or his next step, or connect it as a dot in kind of some kind of a setting that is not or is actually out of place. I'll give you an example. You go to your whereabouts, and you kind of walk around with your girlfriend, wife, family, or by yourself, and most of us are not paying attention because we're too busy, either texting, right, on the phone, or chattering around. And sometimes it's actually beneficial for us, even for our own personal safety, to be more aware of the surrounding, not to be focused only on the way of getting from point A to point B, just to get familiar with your surrounding, and know the exact amount of activity that goes along there. Something that is not belonging there will actually pop up if you already know the routine of that place. And of course, we're living in New York City. It's very hard to, as I said before, because it's very hard to repeat two things twice here in the city, because it's changing constantly. But we all have a route, we all have a place to go, we all have a certain amount of time that we spend either at the stop sign or before we buy the ticket to the theater, and we can look around. And I'm not saying just be super vigilant, just be aware what can come up to your attention and raise some kind of a suspicion. People that are sweating, excessive sweating. I'm not talking about our sweating here under the the lights. I'm talking about people before they do some kind of a criminal act or terrorist act. They're not they're not relaxed. They're not going to do that with ease. Everything has to go in a motion of a programmed operation before they do their act of either committing suicide bombing, or we kind of found that there's a lot of activity that goes along related to that, and we can actually detect those signs if we pay attention. Excessive sweating is one of them, because the body or the sympathetic system cannot control your emotions in that state of mind when you're going to detonate yourself. So either you're actually in a state of mind that is very nervous and you're going to give out a sign. All you needed is one person in that area to pick up the sign maybe, and to see what's going on, pick up the phone and say there's a suspicious person here that is not belonging to the area. Today they do a very good job on hiding their emotions and their intentions, and this is a very problematic. I'm not going to say it's an easy issue, but as we go and we go about our usual routines, we can always develop some kind of a system to ourselves. What to look for, why this person is acting this way, what is his motivation. Sometimes I engage people in a conversation, just normal, conversation. Hey, excuse me, do you know where so-and-so is? And if the person is actually, giving you a stare or a look that is, you can see it in his eyes that is, he's not going to answer your question. He's not about, giving answers, but he knows he's not compromised yet. That, action alone by itself can save a lot of people's life. And this is how we, as a society today, can contribute to a better, state of security in a general way, again, and also feel good about doing it because we're actually a part of that, equation.
Right.
And that's something that each and every one of us, you don't have to be special forces, you don't have to be, elite forces, you don't have to be law enforcement. You only have to have a little bit of an inquisitive, mind, and a little bit of intuition as well to develop that state of mind of, okay, I'm going from point A to point B. Do I actually wait for law enforcement officers to come and scan the area for me, or can I do it for myself? And that's another question that we need to raise here. What is our, responsibility in taking our own state of, responsibility about things that happen to us?
Right, and that's a great question because, and a great point, because it isn't just the government or local law enforcement or security personnel that can only be responsible for security now. It's everyone's job. Everyone, like you were talking, everyone has to be part of this. Everyone has to be part of the equation. Everybody has a role to play. Whether you're a mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, young, old, we see it all over the news, we see it on commercials, you see something, you say something. People have to come forward. They can't be afraid anymore, because if that one person or one individual says, you know what, it's probably nothing, or I don't want to get involved, not stating something or notifying the police could cause mass casualties up the road or at another location. We have to educate our communities and get them to be part of this equation, law enforcement. And I believe law enforcement is doing a better job at going out to the communities and getting that information. But still, there are a lot of people out there that aren't being reached, that need to know they have to be part of this whole security net system. And that's the best way we're all going to be able to protect ourselves, is for everyone to be part of it. We can't just rely on our government.
But how, realistically, how do we do it? It's either privacy or protection. How do we even it out where we won't have our civil libertarians,
right,
yelling foul?
Absolutely.
How do we do it as in law enforcement?
And this is, we see that with our civil libertarians coming forward, complaining about methods that are used to investigate possible terrorism, to stop people on the streets. We just, recently we had an issue with the NYPD doing an investigation over in New Jersey for possible terrorism, and it caused a lot of issues. So, right, how do you balance that? You have the people who want law enforcement and security. They want them there. They want to be. Everybody wants to live. They're like, whatever you have to do. If I got to go through the airport, and I got to take all my clothes off. Not that you'd want to see that, but if I got to do that to get on a plane and make sure that I'm safe and the people around me are safe, then I'm going to do that. But then you have others that are not happy with being stopped or being questioned. So it's a very delicate balance. There's no real one straight answer for this scenario. Law enforcement and government officials are trained very carefully on how to approach people the best that they can. But no matter what, all the discussions that have gone on for all the news shows for the 20, 30 years, you can't make everybody happy. But you have to keep the public safe, the flying public safe, people on mass transit, trains, our bridges. You have to be able to keep them safe. And you have to do certain things. You have to stop innocent people and question them. It's going to happen. I've been stopped on the street and I've been questioned. It happens to everybody. I know some people, they don't like it, but it's one of the avenues that we have to help protect our communities and our nation.
And it's a shame, like I was telling David earlier, I had a discussion with one of our city council people here in New York about the stop and frisk. And she was adamant that this is not correct. And I have no problem with being stopped.
Right.
At all. If it's going to
I'll
add
tell you
to our
something,
safety and
Clark.
security.
I think that today, when the discussion is going, in different lengths of understanding what we're all about. What is security? Security is not like a pill that you take and suddenly you solve all the world's problems. And if people are putting more, barriers in front of going forward and understanding security, because I think that even the civil libertarians do not understand quite well what we're facing here. 9/11 is a slap in the face of modern society. We cannot go back to the stage that we have too much openness in that type of thing, and you're cutting the law enforcement's hands in dealing with those type of extremities. And I'll take State of Israel. State of Israel is challenged each and every day, each and every hour, each and every minute with these type of things that we're talking about here. Our own personal safety is a collective. If we cannot understand or participate and take and share and accept the fact that we're being challenged every day by people, by bad people that trying to destroy our way of life and our way of liberties. And of course it takes a little bit of uncomfort. You're going to be stopped, you're going to be searched. If you raise a suspicion, you're going to be set aside, they'll take a little bit more time to investigate, but it's not to invade your privacy. It's actually to keep everybody else safe. And I think that this point has to be emphasized here in the United States. I don't think that you will find anyone in Israel complaining that Israel is a safe country.
So Albert and Clark, one of the biggest questions that people in New York and across the country have are suicide bombers. We hear so much of them. We hear about the damage that one individual can do, and you have at this table the best experience in regarding involvement and dealing with that. Can you give us some ideas what to look for, how they work, how they're trained, and why they do this?
There's a lot of levels of information sharing in terms of when it comes to actual suicide bombers, which is a whole thing by itself. But I'll share a little bit of my story and how we succeeded to tackle the problem of suicide bomber. All the story starts with what I said before, detecting the signs, understanding the mentality, researching a little bit more about the phenomenon of the suicide bomber. Because the suicide bomber today, in my school, I think that's the smartest approach if you're the adversary. There's no more effective means or measures that the adversary is going to take in order to put the pinpoint where he wants to detonate, what type of scare and terror he's going to implement in that community. So we're talking about more of a general approach. My experience with a suicide bomber was from the law enforcement perspective. It was an information, actually a relayed information that we kind of moved on and discovered that there's an intention by this guy to cross a certain area in Israel, pick up a suicide vest and actually detonate his charge in a discotheque. Actually, it's similar to the places that we spoke before,
right.
Populated areas that a lot of crowd is actually crowd in. And these are the targets that they're the soft belly of the society, because like you said before, the hardened targets like governmental buildings and whatnot, they're guarded, they know that they're going to meet resistance, and they're just choosing not to do that because it's going to be a waste of resources.
Right, too difficult.
Too difficult as well. So they're going to try to detonate the soft belly of society where nobody expects, and actually the event itself will devastate, have a devastating effect on the society, because once you are hit with this type of thing as suicide bombing inside your a local, coffee shop or a bus station or shopping mall. These are the places that change the entire mentality of the person and his feeling about his own safety and security. And this is why they choose those specific areas. Going back to the story, we kind of got the information about this specific act of terror that is going to take place in a certain time, certain place. We picked up very quick. I picked up the team, and we kind of got the information while we're on the job about this individual. We deployed a few units to actually close a certain area and to separate as possibly could, separate him from without being detected. Of course, we kind of carried different means that would not give us out, and without raising his suspicion that he's on our target. We succeeded in separating him from the rest of the people that he was actually going to target, and then we, like we said in Israel, we tackled him. We took him by surprise. I actually ended up on top of him. He incidentally broke a couple of fingers because the concern was that he's going to detonate. He's going to be there. And if you understand how a suicide bomber works and how a suicide belt and the effects of it, it's very simple. What they do, they strap a belt around their waist. It's filled with explosives, and they have the detonator with an on and off switch. Some switches are a little bit more complicated than that, and basically, all he needs to do is connect or push that switch, and all that devastation goes on. That was our primary concern. If he detonates, it's too late for us to do anything. So we kind of wanted to tackle him before he gets to his final destination, which we succeeded somehow to do. There's a lot of story behind that, but time is short, and we want to cut into the issue. And it was a success in terms of the information, how fast you get the information relayed, and how fast you have someone to respond.
Right.
We were lucky enough to be there to respond with our means, and we did everything that we could to stop. And the motivation to do that, our act, because it's counterintuitive. You're not going to go to stop a person by yourself unless you understand that he's going to hurt your kids, your family, and everybody else around that is related to you. So you kind of it's not an act of bravery even. It's my mission. It was our mission actually to stop that person with every means that we had. We had an extra or an added value to catch him alive. We were not supposed to engage him in order to take him down without so the mission was to take him alive if possible. We did everything in our part to keep him alive, and of course the value of a person like that being kept alive for future reference and investigation on understanding how these cells work and how to even produce more productive intelligence to be shared with law enforcement and the proper entities that deal with those things.
How can we find out further information on Security USA Today?
Sure. Listen, if anyone has questions, they have information, any ideas they want to speak about regarding security, they can contact us at securityusatoday.com. They can leave their information there. We'll contact them right away. Outstanding. And Albert, thank you for joining us. How can we reach you?
My website is kapapacademy.com, KAPAP academy.com. We're based in New Jersey, and we're actually, like David said, we're going to, we worked together before, but in that aspect, we're also are open to anyone's requests and information about personal safety and security.
Outstanding. Gentlemen, this was a great program. Thank you both again. I'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
And I'm Clark Benya for Security USA Today. Hasta la próxima.